inflation and other factors, you know, I think they should also be considered, you know, because they still have families to feed, and, you know, the social security, it can be very meager. So I think it would be all right to revisit that and review it, just as they are doing for the ordinary workers.
Considering the prices today, maybe the amount that they were paid before and now can be very, expensive when you look at prices in the market at some point.
Oh, absolutely. We are all, it's not a matter of they, we suffer it all the time. We are all in it together. But for me as well, what I need to think about, the other day we heard the Minister of Finance when he said that we were dangerously close to debt distress, and some of these things we tend to take that, the amount of money we had through aid sort of reduced so drastically. So that's also a factor that the country now faces, really.
But that's
where
where
would
fiscal discipline and prudence
comes in.
In terms of other aspects, you know, that is very important when they look at those policies.
So what taps do you close so that you can open this one to help?
So let's move to Senegal. Senegal increases media subvention to 4 billion CFA franc. How much is 4 billion in Gambian dollars?
I have no idea.
I don't have a clue, but billion sounds a lot in any case. I think this is not telling well, because it's giving the impression of stifling the media in terms of, especially there was so much furore yesterday when they identified the medias, you know, that are supposed to regularize, and they are mostly media outlets that are critical of the system. So people are beginning to point fingers and say this is kind of witch hunting exercise, and some of them are not taking it lightly. They intend to challenge and see, because they're saying the media codes is what demand that, but I think they should not go down that route. They are doing very well. They should allow, you know, opinions that are different to be expressed, and then be tolerant.
Yes, it is quite fascinating, isn't it? This party, only, you know, a short time ago, all the media, they were all behind this party, and suddenly, look at, you know, the way it's behaving in government. Fantastic. I really do not know how to respond to this one. Perhaps my reflexive response would have been to be on the side of the media and that sort of thing, but I do not know what these people are trying to do. We know that institutionally so much has not been going right, including what's happening in the media. We all know that. So what is their program? How would it pan out? I really cannot give a judgment about what is going on now, because I really do not know. I want to see what's going on. The media, we must also put our house in order. We are going after every other institution, telling them that they should keep their house in order, asking them difficult questions.
Accountability.
Perhaps we may ask ourselves similar difficult questions. You know, what are the priorities, the journalistic priorities of our age? Are we really addressing them? So I will suspend judgment for now to see actually what they're trying to do.
So on the Foreign newspaper, the Justice Minister says government committed to prosecuting past crimes.
Absolutely, especially
they are renewing their
conducted during again. I take it is the Jammeh era crimes they're referencing to. Well, impunity has to be a thing of the past, and the TRRC has been established, and the findings were displayed, and everybody knows the recommendations. So it's just a natural progression that everybody is expecting, that, you know, they have to. People are waiting. I know it's been long overdue, but these are processes that takes a while, and they have to have everything in place, collect enough evidence so that, you know, they can prosecute. They cannot have this. But a lot of gruesome crimes were committed in that period, and yeah, there has to be accountability.
Absolutely, and with platforms, if you like, such as the TRRC, it's always a very long process. Just go to other countries where they've had similar arrangements and just look at the process, and in the end, a good number of people will end up being disappointed, or all sorts of things will happen because of the nature of this. You just cannot satisfy everybody, you know, equally. It will never work like that. But again, the process is on. It's just that maybe we haven't started our prosecutions, but what happened to Bailo in Germany? That's all part of the process.
It's part of it, yes.
Perhaps we had not looked at it from that angle, but that was because we had not really thought about universal jurisdiction, and it bears on our situation. So the process is on. It's just that, not perhaps in the way that we would have liked it, but it's on.
Well, sometimes this process also doesn't just come at once. I mean, it takes time before certain things are implemented. Probably there are other, in fact, other crimes, I mean, for them to be handled, will not be handled by this generation, maybe another generation. We've seen all over. So Senegal Sonko due in Banjul for Economic Forum.
Yeah, that's interesting. He have a big fan base in the Gambia. The Pastef people are. This is their moment. I mean, they have come at a time, when people are expecting a lot, and change is something that is, all over across in many African countries. The youthfulness of their, has really called to attention to the people, and the philosophy they are advancing as well in terms of reducing corruption, and addressing unequal kind of issues in society. So those are very appealing, and Sonko coming around for that would be a spectacle. I'm sure a lot of people would line up the streets or line up wherever he is in order to see him. He is a phenomenon at the moment. Indeed.
Absolutely, the fan bases he's got over here. And I would love to know, given their agenda, what kind of relationship would we have with Senegal? I call it a special relationship. I wonder what kind of refraction they would give to it. It will be quite interesting to hear what he says.
I think that's the state to calibrate, but in any case, we need each other. We need them more so than they do, because we are right in the middle of them, and they are almost surrounding us, and they are bigger in terms of economic, in terms of population, in terms of many other areas. We are very dependent. So that interdependency, we don't have any choice but to have a special kind of relationship, so that it can be a win-win for both countries.
Thank you, Mr. Malika, for reviewing some of the stories with us. And, it was definitely a very interesting engagement. And we hope to engage you again in the future. So now we'll allow you to go, take your coffee now.
Thank you.
So viewers will take a short break. After the break, the program continues. We'll be right back.
And Orange Money has just made money transfer easier. Now you can send money from Gambia to Senegal directly from your Q Money wallet. So what are you waiting for? Get your Q Money account now and start sending money to your friends and families through Orange Money in Senegal now. For more information, call our customer care on 133. Q Money, Sunu Kalpe. Terms and conditions apply.
Q Money e Orange Money joni weɓini nuldugol mbuɗi mi yetoma joni hiɗa wawi nuldude mbuɗi iwra ko Gambia ɗo yaha Senegal e Q Money wallet ma on eyyi ko honno wonɗa e fadde mi yetoma udduto Q Money account ma on joni fuɗɗoɗa nuldude mbuɗi e teriɓe ma e waɗon ka Orange Money nder Senegal fi heɓugol hen ko laaɓi hiɗa wawi noddude Q Money customer care e 133 Q Money suñu kalpe ɗum no yaadi e sartaji. Q Money anin Orange Money ye bulodi nyola pour ka kodi kio sone yandi ka bonan Gambia banko kan kata Senegal banko kan anin Q Money wallet e ka mune batu e muna fan Q Money account wala sign pour ka dati ka kodoki e terimal anila dimbayal kana anin Orange Money Senegal ni lafta ku Senegal sotola je Q Money customer care commandi 133 Q Money suñu kalpe ñing sartolle bala Q Money ak Orange Money ñoo lëkkaloo pour yombalal leen yónnee xaalis bàyyi ko Gambia dem ba Sénégal ak Q Money wallet looy toog di xaar dawal léegi nga ubbi Q Money account pour nga mun a door di yónnee xaalis sa xarit ak sa mbokk yi jaarale ko Orange Money Sénégal léegi pour am si lu leer mun nga call Q Money customer care si 133 Q Money suñu kalpe lii dafa ànd ak sarta yuñ tëral.
Mitoma. First time cross, really threatening, and it's dropped for Minte, rifled in! Out.
Did you know you can buy cash power using Q Money Wallet absolutely free up to $30,000? Use our app or dial 323# and select Q Power. choose Register Meter. Enter your meter number. Dial *323# and follow these simple steps. Number 1, select option 3 for Q Power. Number 2, choose option 1 to buy any amount of Q Power. Enjoy free QCell airtime every time you cash in to purchase Q Power. For any inquiries, call 133. Q Money, Sunya Kalben.
You're watching QTV this morning. I am Ibrahim Balde, if you're just tuning in. Now let's head to the third segment of this program, and we are thrilled to be joined by the country director of Peace Corps, Siri Molly, and the deputy director of programming and training, Sajo Dumbuya. I mean, you know, we want to look into the work of Peace Corps in the Gambia, and it's very significant for us to understand. I mean, we might be hearing Peace Corps, but deep, many people might not know what is their reason, I mean, for coming to the Gambia. So to help us, I mean, make the general public understand the work of Peace Corps, you are welcome on this program. It's good to have you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We're very grateful to be here.
Yeah, so can you briefly, I mean, describe Peace Corps mission to the Gambia?
Absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity. So the mission of Peace Corps globally is to advance world peace and friendship. And the specific goals of Peace Corps there are 3 different goals. One of them is around supporting countries with meeting their capacity needs by providing trained individuals to support development goals. And the 2 other goals are about increasing cross-cultural understanding, understanding of Americans who come to serve, and also understanding of Americans of countries around the world. So we, here in the Gambia, we've been working since 1967. We've had a total of 2,000 American Peace Corps volunteers here, most of them being volunteers who live in a village doing community-based work in partnership with organizations for a 2-year period.
Okay, nice. Since the coming of Peace Corps, how do you measure the impact of Peace Corps work in the Gambia?
There are many ways to look at impact. In fact, I would love to turn that question to my colleague Sarjo, if that's okay, because he leads our programming.
Thank you, Sabalde. I think the impact of the Peace Corps in the Gambia it's difficult to measure those in quantitative terms, but you know, sometimes we look at it in qualitative terms. You know, if we follow the trails of our volunteers in the communities, we go back and check, and then we also look at the cross-section of the Gambian population. There are a lot of people in this country that when you meet them, they will tell you, I am only successful in my education because of a Peace Corps volunteer. Like Siri said, they've been coming since 1967, and some of them have been teachers in schools, teaching mathematics and science. So some of our successful people today will always come back and tell us, you know, I'm only successful mathematician or scientist or whatever they are today because of a Peace Corps volunteer that I met in my life, that gave me the skills, that taught me, and then made me an educationist as I am today. But if you go back to the communities again, you know, you will see that some of our volunteers worked with community members on activities. Those activities still exist for several years. So, you know, from Caron to Corner, you can always point at something, and then or someone will tell you, I have this because of a volunteer. So we don't have those numbers, you know, put together that we can say this is our impact, but you know, it's written all over the place.
Yes, recently you had a visit, didn't you, from the director, head of Peace Corps, was it SPAN? Absolutely. I wonder, what was the purpose of the visit? how does the Peace Corps now see itself doing its job, given the changes, as it were, from JFK's vision, if you like, to now?
Yeah, so Director Spahn actually has not visited yet, and the plans are still a bit to be determined. So we're looking forward to her visit. Her visit is to really to support the Gambia and to support our post, as we call it. We are looking to put a spotlight on the country for Americans so that we can boost the number of Americans who are interested in volunteering here. Unfortunately, the average American is not very well educated on all of the wonderful, beautiful countries throughout Africa. So if they have a list to choose from, they may have never heard of the Gambia. So the upcoming visit, we're expecting of her will help to boost awareness. But Peace Corps, to answer the second part of your question, the Peace Corps as a U.S. government agency is always evolving and adapting to the times, and yet also there is a consistency and a universality to how Peace Corps works that's been very steady. So I was a Peace Corps volunteer. I met my husband in the Peace Corps in the early 2000s in Lesotho in Southern Africa. My parents were Peace Corps volunteers in Ecuador. My aunt and uncle were Peace Corps volunteers in Samoa. All of them served in the 1970s. And from today back into the 70s, anyone who served in the Peace Corps has so much in common. And yet there are changing needs, there are changing approaches to development. I think Peace Corps has become increasingly thoughtful about how to make sure that we have a lot of cultural humility. We're not coming here to try to make the Gambia become like the United States, right? But we are trying to be in deep partnership, responding to what the government and the communities are asking for us to do. And those needs always change.
But one thing I wonder though, just as a side issue, I have a friend married to a former Peace Corps, Gambian, absolutely. So I wonder how you do your work. Is it ever determined by the person occupying the White House? Is it ever determined by either Republican or Democrat? What is the...
So I've worked with Peace Corps as an employee for a year and a half. So I personally have not experienced a change in this, but as the country director, I've been, very curious about that myself and asking for a lot of advice. Historically, Peace Corps has really been very consistent. Sarjo has been with Peace Corps since the late 90s. So maybe he could speak to it. But it's a very nonpartisan program, and we're very small in the big picture of the U.S. government. We're very small. So Peace Corps tends to keep moving forward. We have bipartisan support. So we don't expect there to be any major changes for our work here.
I think usually our work is based on the priorities of the host government. The host government tells us where they need us. We have 3 sectors: health, agriculture, and environment, and education. So they tell us where their priorities are. So we kind of tailor-made the activities of our volunteers based on that. If the government, for example, wants us to focus on literacy and numeracy, the education volunteers that are coming will be working in schools focusing on those areas. So sometimes, regardless of change of presidency or government in the United States, that doesn't kind of bring a major change on what we do. But when the government of the host country wants us to focus on a particular thing, then we look at that. Does that fit with our mission? If it does, then we help the government.
But that's interesting now, isn't it? So now, with our government, what are you really focused on?
So we have a project framework that we've developed, and those in 2022, and we work very closely with the various ministries on that. So for education, for example, the government wants us to focus on literacy and numeracy, and that's what our education project is focused on. For health, they want us to focus on maternal and child health, and that's what our health project focuses on. For agriculture, they want us to look at food security. Food security, gardening, tree planting, small animal husbandry, and stuff like that. And that's what our project focuses on. So sometimes we don't just operate like that. We operate on what the government wants us to do.
Let's talk about your volunteers. I mean, what role do they play, in implementing some of your projects?
Yeah, the volunteers go to their sites. So the first thing we ask them to do is to do a baseline assessment. Again, they go to the communities, they do a baseline assessment and work with the community members to identify a need that the community wants to address.
Okay.
So then the volunteer, together with the community, designs series of activities, plans, resource mobilization, and address that particular need. So the volunteer doesn't identify that need for the communities, but that need has to be within this project framework. So if this is a health volunteer, the community wants them to help with something that is outside of that, then they will ask us, we will advise them. But if the community members wants a volunteer to work on something that is straight out there in our project framework, the volunteer works with them to address that particular need.
Yeah, so this one goes to Sarah. What are the key priorities for Peace Corps in the Gambia for the coming years?
So we are continuing to focus on agriculture and environment, health and education, as Sergio spoke to. We know that, around the world there are different patterns with rain, with water scarcity, different weather patterns, and so it's something we're looking at continuing to evolve in. One thing that we have an upcoming innovation where beginning in June, the volunteers who will be coming in will begin working on a 15-month service period. So most of our volunteers will come for 27 months total. And for some young Americans, it feels very overwhelming. And yet once they're here, then they say, we have volunteers who extend for 3 years. In fact, we even have some volunteers who were here before COVID-19, were evacuated and came back. And so some of them, I think, have been here for 4 or 5 years total. But we have a new group coming in for a shorter service period as a pilot for us to see, can we attract more volunteers if it's a shorter commitment up front, and then we can encourage them to stay on. So we're really looking at how can we encourage more volunteers to come so that we can meet the needs, because we have many more communities that would like to have a Peace Corps volunteer than we have the supply right now.
That's it. And one thing, I sort of ask this fairly regularly when I meet people from certain institutions, what is the U.S. benefiting from this? Over this, what has been the benefit? How do we assess that? How can one begin to assess that? Or is it simply the U.S. doing us a favor?
So, we just swore in that we just had the ceremony to officially finish the pre-service training for 11 new volunteers. They just officially became volunteers yesterday. And what I always say to them as someone who is a volunteer myself is that you will learn as much as you give, and in fact, often more. And so to me, this isn't a formal part of the goals of Peace Corps, but to me, I am very interested in working with Peace Corps because I think that every American who has an experience where they build cultural humility, intercultural competencies, new language skills, it creates a broader worldview that I think is very beneficial. They develop resilience, they develop patience. It's the United States has a lot of different types of service that Americans can engage in. Peace Corps is one. AmeriCorps is a domestic version of Peace Corps. There's military service. We've had many different service opportunities, and so I think it's one other way especially for young Americans to kind of build their worldview and start to think about more than themselves in their lives.
Absolutely. I'm sure you've heard this one before, but I'm going to give it to you. That's why I asked that question, sort of like to get the background, right? Because some cynics, we see Peace Corps as part of kind of the US's PR arm, the kind of soft power of American imperialism. I'm sure you've heard stuff like that before. And we will even go to the extent of saying, oh, they've got spies in there. How would you respond to that?
Well, we definitely are not involved in anything related to spying. If you meet our volunteers, you'll see that they do not have the background that anyone would be looking for spying. I mean, we are part of the U.S. government, but I can say, we have a very we are very separate from the U.S. Embassy. We do have to work in countries that have a U.S. Embassy, but we are not part of the State Department. And that's very intentional so that we can be independent. I sit in certain meetings with the U.S. Embassy as country director, but they do not supervise me and my work. And so I think that distinction is important to know, that, you know, we have completely different systems. We're a standalone agency. And so, and as Sarjo can testify to, the goals of Peace Corps in each country and the projects worked on are truly, we respond more to the local government than the U.S. government.
So, Mr. Doumbouya,
Yes.
what can we pinpoint and call it a success story when it comes to the work of Peace Corps in the Gambia?
Thank you, Mr. Balde. There are several of those. Well, one of them that I like to quote has to do with the education project, which is more of literacy and numeracy. We have an example of a volunteer going to a school and doing the needs, the baseline assessment that I said, and then they discovered that there are issues with literacy and numeracy skills in those schools. As a result, the NAT results, the examination results, they weren't doing very well. So the volunteer decided to call a meeting and work with the school staff and then develop series of activities to see how best they can help those children improve their literacy and numeracy skills. So after 2 years, they sat to the exams again, and then that school became the top 10 best schools in the country based on the results that they got. So it isn't something that we speculate, it is something real. Within 2 years, the school became like the best top 10 in the country. That's just one example. But there are several other activities that our volunteers did in the fields that we can see.
Of course. I mean, there can be success stories, but at the end of the time, too, there can be challenges as well. So what are some of the challenges of the Peace Corps mission in the Gambia?
As I mentioned earlier, we would like to have more volunteers. So one of the challenges is that young people in the United States, their mindsets and needs are always evolving. We've found since COVID-19, some people are a little more insular in their lives. You know, they got used to working remotely on computers, and now we're trying to get that generation to come out of their apartments. And this is the exact opposite of being in Zoom meetings. To come into the Peace Corps, you barely have any connectivity. You don't have Wi-Fi. You might not have electricity except for a small solar panel. So, you know, that's why we're looking at this 15-month pilot to see how can we meet this generation where they are so we can have more volunteers. That really is our biggest challenge, and we're doing a lot of marketing efforts in addition to the pilot innovation. And then I think some of the challenges that Peace Corps volunteers face are the same that my parents faced in the 70s, that I faced in the early 2000s. Americans like to go really fast. It's a stereotype, but it holds true for most of us. And to learn, and it's an important lesson, to learn to slow down, and that's part of the cultural humility, to not do things on your own just because you want to go fast, to learn how to evaluate your success in a more collective, community-based way rather than I can tick these boxes and I'm moving quickly. So there are different challenges around the cultural integration for volunteers, but we're really, really proud of all that they do. And as I said, I wish some of them could have been here actually, so you could hear their pular and their mandinka and see them in the
I met a lot of them around the Basse area. We speak a lot of Fula and Mandinka. Yeah, so thank you. I mean, yes, all right.
Very, very quickly. I read somewhere that some years ago, the Brookings Institute suggested some changes, reforms within the Peace Corps. Wouldn't it be interesting that, you know, for instance, in the Gambia, I could just go and be a Peace Corps volunteer? The kind of idea.
Yourself, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what do you think about sort of the kind of changes that you might need to do to sort of...
So, I mean, I was just saying to some volunteers and staff, for me, I am always interested in continuous improvement, you know, and so I'm not someone who likes to come in, this is again an American mindset, right? Like I just said, I always want to see how can we evolve, how can we do better. I value where Peace Corps has been, and I think it can always be stronger. So we do have a lot of different initiatives going on to advance Peace Corps. One thing that Peace Corps globally has been working working on is trying to make sure that the Americans serving truly represent our country. We're a very multicultural, diverse country in the United States. But we are beginning a partnership in the very, very early stages with CORE Africa. I don't know if you're familiar with their work, but they have a one-year service model for African volunteers, and they're beginning their work here in the Gambia.
Okay.
And we are looking at how can we team up with CORE Africa so that perhaps an American volunteer could be collaborating with a Gambian volunteer or Senegalese volunteer who is working in a similar capacity.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. We've already exhausted our time. I mean, thank you for coming, Siri Molly and Sadio Doumbouya. And we hope to engage you in the future. I think this is a very interesting discussion. And time to time, it's important for us to come and enlighten the people about your work.
Yeah.
Yes,
Thank you so
so
much
thank
for
you
your time.
Thank you
for your time.
Yeah, so viewers will take a short break. After the break, then we'll be taking a look at the Q Carnival 2024. And we already have Maria Makasama, Operations Manager at Q City, the studios. We'll be right back. Thank you.
Great.
All right.
Thank you.
Q City. This December 31st, we're taking it to the next level.
From 5 p.m. to 11:30 p.m., Q City kicks things off with a vibrant cultural and family fun festival, perfect for all ages.
Shop till you drop at the marketplace. Open from 5 p.m. to 5 a.m. Vendors, grab your stall for just $2,000.
Indulge in a classic gala dinner from 7 p.m. to midnight. Come hungry, leave happy.
Couples, this one's for you. Enjoy a romantic movie and dinner night from 9 p.m. to midnight.
And then when the clock strikes 12, the stage explodes with a live music concert from midnight to 5 a.m. The hottest artists and DJs will keep you dancing till dawn.
Don't miss out. Mark your calendars and join Q Carnival, the ultimate New Year's Eve celebration at Q City. Gambia, are you ready to party?
Get ready for the biggest celebration of the year.
It's Q Carnival at Q City. This December 31st, we're taking it to the next level.
From 5 p.m. to 11:30 p.m., Q City kicks things off with a vibrant cultural and family fun festival, perfect for all ages.
Shop till you drop at the marketplace. Open from 5 p.m. to 5 a.m. Vendors, grab your stall for just $2,000.
Indulge in a classic gala dinner from 7 p.m. to midnight. Come hungry, leave happy.
Couples, this one's for you. Enjoy a romantic movie and dinner night from 9 p.m. to midnight.
And then when the clock strikes 12, the stage explodes with a live music concert from midnight to 5 a.m. The hottest artists and DJs will keep you dancing till dawn.
Don't miss out. Mark your calendars and join Q Carnival, the ultimate New Year's Eve celebration at Q City.
Welcome back. You're watching QTV this morning. Let's head to the last segment of this program. And we have Maria Makasama, Operations Manager, Q City. And we'll be talking about the Q Carnival 2024. Mariama, you are welcome.
It's a pleasure to be here, Balde. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, it's good to have you. But first of all, I'd like to confess something. Mangi Sacha send bena Jazzy, Q City. dañ ma ko joxoon pour ma sol ko ma announce rek ma ñibbeeg
nga ñibbee moom.
Waaw.
Bul worry. Our jersey is your jersey. We're in this cute thing together.
maa ngi guilty woon de. boo gisee bii rek ma
He
guilty.
stole it.
He stole it.
Ask you guys.
You know.
Voilà, non gisuma ko after dafa jaxasoo rek man ma ñibbi. ma yóbbu Jazzy.
Now he has qualified it. Now he has qualified. It's fine. It's
All
fine.
right, so it's good to have you here.
It's a pleasure.
For us to discuss the Q Carnival.
Yes.
Please tell us about this Q Carnival.
Balde, Q Carnival literally came out of nowhere, to be honest, as an idea. But then it was born out of necessity, if you may, because every year people love celebrating New Year's Eve. And unfortunately, this year, we don't know what it's going to look like because the place we love to go to celebrate, which is Senegambia, has a highway,
Yeah.
and the space has significantly lessened to the point where we don't know if something's going to happen there or not. But we thought, you know, as Q City, that's where all the concerts happen every year.
The place to be.
The whole year, the whole end of year is festive. We thought, why don't we just put one more day in there? 31st of December, instead of just doing what we usually do the previous years, is host a gala by the Q Foundation. But this time we decided, why not we just extend it till 5 a.m. So what we wanted to do is do a program that spans from 5 p.m. in the afternoon till 5 a.m. in the morning.
Okay.
And it's going to have different segments to be able to highlight the multifaceted nature of Q City. Because a lot of people, when you say Q City, they think it's just the arena field where the concerts happen.
Yes.
But there's more to it. We have the conference hall, the cinema, the Skyview restaurant, you know, different areas.
A lot of things to offer.
Exactly. So for that, we wanted to be able to have, from 5 p.m., do a cultural fest where families can come. They don't have to be stuck in traffic like they usually do on New Year's Eve. You can leave your home as early as 4 p.m., be there at 5, and there's something for you to do with your kids. There's the playground, you know, hang out and do all of that. By 7 p.m., the people who love to enjoy their New Year's Eve with a gala, we have that on the side. From 7 p.m. to midnight, we have the gala for the gala lovers.
Oh, yeah.
At 9 p.m., we have something for the couples as well, because we have the cinema. We thought, you know, it would be nice to do something nice and cozy for the couples.
True.
So something within Q City. So we decided we'd do a movie, and then they'll end it up with a like a dinner for two upstairs at our beautiful Skyview.
This time Q City didn't get out.
Q City dafa touch, and then, you know, we would have all of it would come together at midnight at a center stage carnival by 6 of the top artists in the country, and then we have live performances backed by Jollof Arts Band from midnight after the fireworks all the way till 6 a.m. in the morning. We're expecting Big Banga, Miss Jobis, Nyancho, Jizzle, who else? Did I mention Miss Jobis?
Wow.
Yeah. Yes. So we have these
a lot
guys
of them.
coming
We have
in,
a lineup.
a lineup of all the most exciting artists that are at the top in the country. So there's something for everyone in the family at Q City. So basically, it's like we just want the whole family to come in the family van. This group go onto the family cultural space. These ones go to the gala. These ones can find themselves up in the movie and dinner date night. And at the end of the day, you all find yourself in a safe and secure space, because that's the most important thing to us.
Absolutely.
Usually, New Year's Eve just happens out on the streets. But we thought, let's put security in there. Let's bring people to a spacious place that can accommodate all of these things. And where else better than Q City? So this is the general idea.
So it's a one-day carnival.
It's a one-day carnival. It's multifaceted with different things.
Let's talk about
happening.
food and drinks.
Yes.
Yes, let's talk about that part.
So as usual, what we usually do is when we have programs, Q City Food Court dominates and does the catering alone. But this time we thought, what's a carnival without food? So we opened up this marketplace. It's like a bazaar where we're going to have different stalls for like people selling food, drinks, if you want to bring accessories, clothes, shoes, whatever you want to sell.
Okay.
So we have those there, and we're giving the stalls up for 2,000 per stall.
Wow.
And you have the opportunity to vend from 5 p.m. to 5 a.m. in the morning with interacting with
And it's
different...
going to be a very fast market.
Very fast market. So we're hoping that, you know, vendors would take advantage of this and then jump on the opportunity to vend.
So let's talk about the kids. Are there any kids friendly activities that will be happening?
Oh, absolutely. You know, that's one thing that sets Q City apart, is the family oriented setting of it. There's something for everybody. The kids are not forgotten. We have 2 separate playgrounds. We have one on the outside, we have one on the inside. And the reason why we started it at 5 p.m. and not at, say, 9 o'clock is so that the kids can be accommodated. Because we want families to understand that you can come with the children. You can bring them. They can either be at the indoor playground, running around, or be at the outdoor playground. The pool is there as well. And we're going to have all of our mascots out. We have almost 4 or 5 different suits that we would love for the kids to interact with.
Oh.
We are also looking forward to bringing cotton candy, face painting, and all of this fun stuff that kids will love.
Oh,
so it's going to be a kids' paradise.
That would be nicely.
Absolutely.
Miss Tumbo.
No, when you said bazaar, I said, I wonder if Balde knows the word bazaar. We don't have stuff like that
Yes.
before. When we were younger, we used to have this.
We are going to introduce it then.
Yes.
That we're going to introduce.
So the bazaar is like a marketplace, basically like a pop-up shop. I think that's the term we are most used to these days. Like a pop-up shop, you can just bring if you're a business, you can sign up with us, and on the day you bring your supplies, your products, or your services, and then you vend from there. And then the people that are coming to our program will get the chance to interact with you. But also your customers who may not have been able to interact with you, perhaps because you're far, would have the opportunity to, get in touch with you on that day. And then,
So safety guidelines, I mean, very important.
Yes.
Yeah, so what are we going to do about that?
We are hiring private security, and we are also going to engage Gambia Police Force to complement our security efforts, because we are expecting a big turnout. And, the way Q City is set up, the fact that we are enclosed instead of just being outside, that gives us one form of security. But we have the private security, and we use barricades, and we have multiple entrances as well. So that as well complements it. Say, for example, the gala dinner would have a completely separate entrance from the carnival. So if you're coming in, you don't have to worry about, it's going to be a carnival. It might be checked up because of that, what I just said earlier. People think Q City is just the field.
Yeah.
But you will see, we are trying to make allocations to do directions from the different streets that can lead you to the different gates of Q City. So the event you're interested in, you'll just use the gate that takes you to that and then go right there. But then the main gate would be used mainly for the carnival entrance on that day. Yes.
Okay, Mr. Mboy.
That's it. So this will be on the 31st.
31st of December, yes.
That's it. Beginning at what?
5 p.m.
That's for the kids.
For the kids, the family.
The family and all
everybody.
That. So payments?
Fees, you would be shocked to find out that we were proudly sponsored by QCell. And of course, Sunyu Bosla.
Yes.
So they came on board, happy to help us to be able to minimize the price of the tickets, because you would imagine a program that is that dense would cost a lot to put together, but they were able to come in and lessen that burden for us to the point where we're able to charge just $200.
Wow!
So just $200.
Oh, so all this you're charging $200?
$200 for the carnival. $200 will give you access to the marketplace. That's the bazaar. You'll be able to enjoy the cultural festival from 5 p.m. and then it will still give you access to that live concert that's happening from midnight till 5 a.m.
Wow.
So the gala on the other side, which is slightly different because it's a dinner. So what we did with that is we're selling tickets. We're selling tables for businesses and corporations.
Okay.
For $50,000 for platinum tables. We wanted to make it exclusive. Every person that purchases a table, you are going to be treated like royalty. The food is going to be scrumptious. The service is going to be amazing. Of course, you guys have seen our banquet tent. The ambiance is just unmatched.
Nice.
So that's going to be for individuals, $4,000, and then we have a price for kids as well, which is $2,500. And the dinner date night, which is the movie date night for the couples, that we're giving it a package for $4,000 per couple, where when you come in, you pay in advance. We hope that people will pay in advance. That's what we intend.
Yeah.
People pay in advance for that. You come in, walk nicely, go into the cinema, enjoy your movie, very nice intimate session, and go upstairs and enjoy your scrumptious dinner. And you don't even have to mix with the rest of us downstairs. You can just stay up there from the Skyview.
The Skyview restaurant.
Exactly.
Amazing.
So you don't have to worry about
that. So let's talk about the stalls.
Yes.
I mean, let's talk about how can one acquire a stall from Q City?
Very easy. We have a front desk at Q City. And if you want to do bookings with all the other things, like the other activities that we have and the facilities at Q City, you go to the front desk and register. So the same thing is what we're doing. We're going to the front desk to do the registration. And you can call also 33-00056 or 33-00055, and these two numbers can assist you with the instructions on how you can get a stall.
Can you assure us if this carnival is going to be different from other carnivals?
Oh, absolutely. One thing is we made sure it's inclusive. You know, on not just on the culture side, we made sure that all the cultures are represented. We want everybody to come. Sarahulebi, Akubi.
Yeah, I'll be handling the Fulani culture.
The Fulani culture, exactly.
So don't worry, we'll do a lot of weltare there.
Exactly.
Yes.
So the cultures will be represented. We also opened it up and we have put something for all ages. We wanted it to be safe and comfortable.
Okay.
So a family can come in, like I said. Why it's different is because you can come in, your kids will be over there. We have attendants to make sure that they are taken care of. All of them would be safe. All the playgrounds would have attendants. We have food and of different varieties from different places, which we normally don't have at Q City. It's usually just one food stall. This time we've opened it up for extra things. You get to interact with mascots. You get to have famous comedy, who is a famous star in Gambia, comic. He's going to be the one hosting the daytime program.
That's
so you
famous.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you get the
Kids
chance
will
to
love
interact
that.
with that. Exactly. They get the chance to interact with him, take pictures. We have our mascots that are going to be out. These memories that we want people
because
to
I wanted to ask you if there will be at least one celebrity appearance. And you mentioned famous. So kids will definitely love to.
Famous would be there. Tijan Show would be there. And all the top stars that I mentioned for the carnival, for the concert, they'll be there as well during the evening, you know, just interacting with people. So everyone and everything will be at Q City on the 31st.
No, Mr. Mboj, bobu da nga wara dem de.
Oh, absolutely.
No, Mr. Mboj, dafa aju.
I think I used the term the other day, extravaganza.
Extravaganza.
Absolutely.
I think it's well apt.
Yeah,
for what I've heard.
So we've already exhausted our time, Mariama. Thank you for coming.
It's a pleasure.
And we hope to engage you next week again.
Inshallah.
You know, for us to remind the people that Q City is the place to be 31st of December.
Yes, sir.
You know, so there is no doubt. We all know how Q City handle their business, you know. So thank you very much. And, you know, for coming. We will engage you next week, inshallah.
Inshallah.
So that's it for
Mr.
this week.
That's it for this week.
Until when?
Enjoy the rest of our program. Thanks to our director, Alu Jallo, and our executive producer, and all the camera operators. Until we come again, enjoy the rest of our programs. Bye.